Greetings everyone. Welcome to Kite lecture series. In today's video, we will be talking about service-oriented architecture. So, in this video, we would be discussing about the definition of service-oriented architecture along with an example which is related to service-oriented architecture in terms of software development. In architecture, we would be studying about the components which are used in service-oriented architecture. Then in standards and protocols, we would be studying how service-oriented architecture is being implemented practically in software development industry. And the last topic would be system of the systems. So let's start. So, service-oriented architecture is an architectural approach in which applications make use of services available in the network. In this architecture, services are provided to form applications through a communication call over the internet. So basically, in software development scenario, rather than developing each and every service from the scratch, what we are doing is we are using the pre-established services to develop a software. Now, by doing this, we are promoting code reusability, right? And it is very cost effective. So let's see what they have written. SOA allows users to combine large number of facilities from existing services to form an application. Yes, so in an application development process, there are certain modules which are providing services, and these modules are already developed. So what we are doing is we are using their services in our application, right? So that we don't have to start everything from the scratch. Now the second point is SOA encompasses a set of design principles that structure system development and provide the means for integrating components into a coherent and decentralized system. So now they have talked about decentralized system. In previous video, we have already talked about the decentralized system. Why they are calling this system a decentralized system? Because you are not building everything from the scratch, and you are not developing each and every module in a single software. What you are doing is you are borrowing some services from some other service provider, and then you are using their services to form your application. That's why it's a decentralized approach, because you are not focusing all your developing skills in just one software, right? SOA based computing packages functionality into a set of interoperable services which can be integrated into different software system belonging to separate business domain. So here what they are saying is SOA functionalities are built in such a way that they provide interoperable services. When we talk about interoperable services, it means that they are platform independent. If I am developing a software on Java and I am using certain service oriented architecture based services in my Java application, then it really doesn't matter on what platform that service is made. Maybe that services is made on C, maybe that service is made on Python, and that really doesn't matter. The best part of using SOA services is that they are platform independent. Now, so this is a basic example. Suppose you have to develop an online car parking app. So there's a car parking app which allows the registered user to select a specific space for their car parking, and after selecting the specific space, they will have to pay it online. So if you want to develop a functionality of an online car parking system, this software can be divided into three modules. One can be login and register module, where you have to provide login functionalities. Then you would have an interface where they have to tag a geographical location where they want to park a car, and then after selecting the space, you would need a module for online payment. Now my question to you is, how will you do that? One answer would be that you will make a login and register module from the scratch. You will write a code on PHP, maybe any backend language, and then you would be using some SQL queries to register users' name, details, their passwords, right? Then after that, you have to manage all those things. Then for implementing second module, you would need a geographical system just like Google Map, which will help the user to locate the available parking space. And the third module is online payment. So you would have to maintain an online wallet and you have to write the code from the scratch, right? So rather than doing all these things, rather than making all these three modules from the scratch, one thing that you can do is to use the login services which is provided by Facebook, Google, LinkedIn and Twitter, and use their login APIs for login and register purposes. Now, what's the best part of using this is you don't have to build everything regarding to login and registration process from the scratch. You don't need to learn SQL. You don't need to manage all these things. You just have to call an API from Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, Twitter as a single sign-on, and then you will then the user would be authenticated on their server, and then they will provide an access. Now for second module, what you can do is, instead of making your own geographical system, you can use the API of Google Maps. And in the third one, instead of making your own wallet, you can use online APIs of online wallet, MobiKwik, FreeCharge, Amazon Pay in your software, right? And apart from that, in online payment, you can also use these payment gateways just like CC Avenue, PayPal, Visa, and etc. So here what you are doing is you are actually making your own online car parking system, and instead of developing all three modules from the scratch, you are using the APIs which are provided by these companies to make your own software, your own personalized software. So this is the whole concept of service oriented architecture. Now let's talk what are the components in this architecture. So basically in service oriented architecture, there are three basic components. One is the service provider, the second one is service broker or service registry, or you can say service repository, and the third one is service requester or service customer. Service providers are those people who create these services. Just in the previous example, Amazon Pay, Google, Facebook, these all are the service provider. It creates a web services and provides its information to a service registry. The provider also has to decide what category the service should be listed in a given broker service and what sort of trading partner agreement are required to use these services, right? And the second one is service broker. Now, service broker, service registry and service repository, all these three things act as an interface between service provider and service customer. The service broker, service registry or service repository's main functionality is to make the information regarding web services available to any potential requester. Whosoever implants the broker decides the scope of the broker. Now, the third one is service requester or service consumer. Okay, these are basically all those software developers who are requesting for these services in app development. It locates the entry in the broker registry using various find operations and then bind the service provider in order to invoke one of its web services. Whichever service the service consumer need, they have to take it up to the broker, bind it with the respective service and then use it. They can also have multiple services. So here we are discussing the process by which a service requester or service consumer will get their services. First they have to, okay, I will explain this with this diagram. So this is the diagram of service oriented architecture. Here there are three components: service provider, service customer, and service registry. Now, the very first step is being done by service provider, where service provider create a service and publish a service in a service registry, right? Now, in service registry, they publish a service so that service customer, whenever they require a service, they can search their service. Now, to access this service registry, they can service customer can also take help of a broker. Now, this is the second step. Whenever a service customer needs a service, it goes to the broker, submit their queries, submit their requirements, or they can go to the service registry, they can check whatever services that suits best for their requirement, and then after discovering those services, the third step would be the binding of services to the service provider. So this is the third step, where service customer binds their service. So it's a three-step process. First, service provider publishes their services in the service registry. Second, service customer looks for services in service registry. They can take the help of service broker, and after getting the desired services, they bind their services to the main service provider. This is the third step. Now, let's discuss the standards and protocol which are used in service-oriented architecture. When we talk about standards and protocol, these are the practical implementation that we do in service-oriented architecture. Service-oriented architecture is practically implemented by these approaches. Now, in our course, we would be studying about REST, representational state transfer. Apart from them, there are many technologies which are based on service-oriented architecture. These are the implementation approaches. Let's see. Architecture can operate independently of specific technology and can therefore be implemented using wide range of technologies, including web services based on web services description language and SOAP, messaging services like ActiveMQ, JMS, RabbitMQ. REST is what that we are going to discuss next, and OPC UA, WCF, Apache Theft, gRPC, Saucer. So in our course, we would be discussing about REST. So the full form of REST is representational state transfer. It is an architectural style that defines a set of constraints to be used for creating web services. REST API is a way of accessing the web services in the simple and flexible way without having any kind of processing. Now, RESTful web services are very popular because they are lightweight, they are highly scalable and maintainable, and they are commonly used to create APIs for web-based services. Before using REST, we used SOAP APIs, but right now the market inclined towards REST, so we would be studying only the REST. To explain the usage of REST API, I have used this example. So this example is again about developing a web application. So here I can see there are 9 applications, and making of these applications is out of my reach. So I'll take an easy example. I'll try to make this weather app. In this weather app, I would be displaying the weather of the nearby location where I am residing. So in order to make this weather app, I need the dynamic information of the weather. Being a software developer, I don't have that much sensors all around the world to catch all these things. So I cannot make everything from the scratch. I cannot have that money to invest all these things on weather satellites. So what I am going to do is I would be using the services which are provided by other applications, other web services that are So I would be using the services of other web applications that would be providing the data of the weather. So how I'm going to do this? So this is my weather app, and what I'll do is I'll contact with some weather.com server, and I'll ask them to give me the required data. So this is the process of getting a request. First you have to send a request, then you will get a response. So in representation state transfer, in order to get the request, there are two aspects. First is the base URI, and then second is the standard HTTP methods. So here you can see the example. Suppose I have to post something on the server, so I'll use this URL. When I say post, it means I am creating something on the server. So I'll write post, then I'll write a URL, and then whatever orders that I have to post, I have to add that in the order. Suppose if I have to delete some orders, we have to just change the verb from post to delete, and in that case we can delete certain orders. So there are standard 5 methods which we would be using. First is get, then post, then put, then patch, and then delete. So these are the methods and their functionality. Suppose we have to create something on by this thing you are clear that REST is an architectural style to establish a communication between some services or some servers, and you will get the response in JSON, XML, and any kind of format, right? So it is an architectural style for establishing a communication between your application and some services. Now, in order to implement this, we need two things. First is the base URI, which is, you can say, the address of that server, and the second thing is the method, the HTTP methods. Once you have established the connection, you need to define that what kind of task that you are doing. You may just want some information, or you may want to add certain information on the server. You may want to delete certain information on some server. You may want to edit certain information on some server. So to do all these things, we use these 5 methods. Actually there are 7 methods, but these methods are main methods. So what are these methods? Get, post, put, patch, and delete. It is based on CRUD. So if you are having any issue in understanding these apps, understanding these methods, so you can use the word CRUD. CRUD means create, read, update, and delete. So let's see what post do. So post is the method to create a content from an app to a web server. Now what they are saying is, when you send a URL using post, it will create a resource, and after the resource is creating, it will return a message 201. When it returns a message 201, it means that your post is being created, your content is being posted on the server. Now you may just want to read anything, so to getting the list of all those content that you want from the server, you will use get method. Now after using get method, and after requesting anything from after requesting these content from the server, you will get a message 200. Whenever this message 200 comes, it means that your command is successful, and apart from that, you will get the list of all the data which you want to use maybe in your application. Now put actually replaces and update the content which is already present on the server, on any kind of service that we are talking right now. So if you get 405 message, it means that this method is not applicable. It means that the command that you have requested to be implemented is not implemented. The fourth is patch. The functionality of patch is it partially modifies or update your services. So whenever you post something and you'll get a message 405, it means that this method is not allowed and this command is not executed. And if you get an input or batch method, if you get 200, it means that your content has been updated. And if you get 204, then it means that there is no content that you are required. And 404 means ID is not valid. It means error 404 means that URL is not valid, or the whatever address that you have specified is not valid. And the last one is delete. It actually deletes the content. Now if you get the message and then after implementing this command, if you get 200 message, it means the content is deleted. 404 means the content is not found. And if you get 405 message, then it means you cannot use delete operation. This delete operation is not valid. Now after that, we will be studying about system of the system. System of the system is a collection of task-oriented or dedicated systems that pool their resources and capabilities together to create a new, more complex system which offers more functionality and performance than simply the sum of constituent systems. Now, these are the set of systems or system elements that interact to provide a unique capability that none of the constituent system can accomplish on its own. Why we are reading this? Because system of system is actually a broader term, and service oriented architecture is an approach of system of the system, because system of the system is basically, you can say, it is a collection of task oriented and dedicated system, and all these systems pooled together to form a new resource, right? And this type of thing is being done in service oriented architecture. That's all for today, guys. Thank you so much. God bless you all. Stay fit. See you in the next video. Jai Hind.